WIVB-TV sports director Josh Reed, who is live at the Bills store with us. Josh, thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is
Good
it's
to
nice
have
to
you
see
here.
you. It's not like you don't know your way to the stadium, but what you were telling us, your first impressions of the new stadium were your first impressions. You'd never been in it. You hadn't like taken a tour.
No,
or
you know why? I had a couple of offers to, hey, do you want to stop in months ago? You know, kind of as the process was going on along, and I don't need to see how the Ferrari's made.
Right.
When it's finished and the tires are on it, if you want to hand me the keys and let me take a test spin, I will definitely do that. But I was truly amazed. It lived up to every single expectation you could want. The Bills fans are going to be in for a huge treat.
Yeah, we're so excited too, and doing the show from here every single day, we get to look at it, and we get to see what's happening. We get to see, check in on our bison across the way, see who's here, see who's not, who's being delivered. So we love having this point of view from One Bills Live. Josh, you're joining the show because WIVB-TV and the Bills extended their partnership for a multi-year extension, which is really exciting. So you can catch preseason games on WIVB-TV, Bills Kickoff Live, which you're wearing the vest right now, pregame, postgame shows, exclusive Bills content and coverage. WIVB is your home for that. What did you make of the extension of a great partnership?
Yeah, as you can imagine, we were very excited over at the station. A 5-year contract extension. And much like the stadium, it wasn't like I was in the meeting rooms when, the Bills and Nexstar were going back and forth trying to figure out the best solution for everyone, for both sides. But I would check in from now and again and say, hey, how's everything going? Are we moving along? And then finally, in the middle of last week, it was, hey, this is going to be done. This is going to be a good thing for both sides. Super excited. Like I said, it's 5 years. You mentioned Bills Kickoff Live. We're doing post-game shows still, some exclusive content. We're able to get, a one-on-one after Bills games with the players right down on the field, which is really exciting because you're getting that immediate reaction, and you're not surrounded by 15 other cameras and 15 other microphones. It's really, really good, and really excited and proud to continue this relationship.
Yeah, it is part of the thing. And people say, well, what do you get besides, being able to, put the games on? But there is a lot of stuff that just gives you.
There's a point of pride too.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
really is.
Yeah, certainly. There's you're the voice. So, but being able to, because it's not allowed. People think, well, all these guys just go down there and they're in the media. They just can talk to anybody. I've done that sideline gig for CBS. I was doing it for the playoffs for CBS, and you know how it is. I did the Tim Tebow game where he threw the overtime touchdown, and we had the interview with Westwood One. They are very particular about who can be on the field, and you being Channel 4, you guys are going to have free reign to be in and part of the team, particularly on game day. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And Bills Kickoff Live, this is actually the 10th season of Bills Kickoff Live at BKL here in Buffalo. So, time flies like that. 2015 was my first year covering the Bills and living in Western New York. So after a couple of years, we started talking about, hey, you know what's really missing with the Bills coverage is a pregame show. So we started it, and 10 years later, it's as big and as good as it's ever been. It started as a 30-minute show, and now we're up to an hour. And quite frankly, if you ask Bills fans, they probably would take a little bit longer if they could get a little bit longer.
Well, we do the tailgate tag-alongs. We do all kinds of content here on game day, and it's technology. It used to not be this way. Now everywhere you go, everybody's got a big screen on the side of the truck or on the RV, and everything's on. And they're listening to Matt, they're listening to the radio guys, they're watching the TV, whatever their favorite one is. It's part of the deal, and this neighborhood is absolutely electrified when on a game day, and you can't go anywhere without having that. Even if you're not at the tailgate, you can hear it. It's everywhere. So you guys are as much a part of the fabric as anything that happens pregame and postgame.
And not just at home. We travel for every single road game, and that's kind of the cool added thing to this is we're able to take the fans on the road with us and kind of show them, hey, we're down here on the field. We can show them field conditions. We can talk about, I'll never forget the very first year we did BKL was the end of the drought. So we've been pretty good luck, right? I mean, they've made the playoffs almost every year that we've had
Don't
BKL.
stop it.
Right?
Don't stop it.
But if you remember, they played Jacksonville in the playoffs.
Right.
LaShawn McCoy was dealing with an injury, an ankle injury. And he was down working out with trainers before the game during our live show, and we were able to go off of us and show him down on the field, hey, this is what he looks like right now. He's working out. Is he going to play? Because let's face it, he was such a huge
They
part.
needed him,
of course. So ended up the offense didn't do a whole lot that day. But, I mean, it was cool to be able to kind of give people that insight immediately. And we've continued to do that, and it's been fun.
And it's going to be a much different atmosphere when you're down on the field in this joint, the new place. I mean, you saw it. You go down there, you walk out. It's just stunning. It is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, one of the things that a couple of days ago was, like I said, it was the first time I had been in there. One of the first things that jumped out to me was I walked in and I look up and I'm looking for the light standards that we're so used to seeing when we pull into Orchard Park and we see the big light towers and we go, there's the stadium. That's how far I am from it. Well, this stadium doesn't have
no
that.
lights.
The lights are all underneath the canopy and they shoot down on the field. And it was really kind of one of those like, wow, this is going to be way different from what we're used to.
Yeah, it is. But speaking of this partnership, give us an idea of, because you guys, you cover the team. We were talking about it. You're kind of part of the fraternity. We all know each other in the media.
Sure.
Everybody's always there on a Wednesday for the coaches talk. You know, you kind of get to know. How's this, like you're saying, man, I'm glad that we have the partnership. So, because give us some of the
Who
insights.
doesn't want it?
Right.
Right? I mean,
That's right.
Everybody in our industry would raise their hand and go, man, that's a pretty sweet deal that you were able, that
In that
Nexstar
town.
was able to,
In this town for this team, it is something.
It's a huge, and it allows us to do extra stuff, stuff that we wouldn't probably be able to do, if we weren't the official TV station of the Bills. You end up getting a little bit, you get more access to players, a little more access to coaches. We're able to do, like we talked about, BKL down on the field pregame. We do postgame shows. You mentioned that we're doing all 3 of the preseason games. They're all on our air. It's a lot. And not only the TV side of things, we all know this. The way that game is being covered now has changed so much. It's so much digital now. We have WIVB Plus, the Plus channel where you can go on streaming, and it's a free app, and you turn it on, and literally there's Bills coverage on there 24/7. I mean, you just flip around and fast forward, and you'll find something to do with the Bills. I'm truly grateful because when the deal goes up, you have to you hope that you did enough to earn the trust of my bosses, Nexstar, and to earn the Bills going, hey, they were a good partner. Right. You hope that you did right by everyone when you're in my shoes in the sports department. And, we're blessed to have one of the biggest sports departments that I know of. I mean, we got 6 people, and to be honest with you, we're close to hiring another person. And I mean, that's just an enormous staff. And when you have that big a staff, you can really do a lot of different things as opposed to maybe if you only have 3 or 4 people.
Yeah. 100%. Josh, you were here for off-season training. You saw OTAs, mandatory mini camp, heard the press conferences from Joe Brady and Josh Allen to Jim Leonard and Pete Carmichael. We really started to learn about the fabric of the 2026 Buffalo Bills, what it'll look like, and we got to see a little bit of that on the field, the DJ Moore and the Josh Allen connection. What were some of the biggest things that stuck out to you from off-season training?
Michael Hoyt. The way he was getting after it on the sideline, and then when mandatory minicamp started to actually see him doing some drills, it felt like Michael Hoyt played 10 plays last year and made 12 splash plays somehow. That's how good he was. He was such a difference maker when he was on the field. He had so many wow moments in just a short amount of time, and I just think that Jim Leonard's defense is going to allow him to continue that. And Hoyt even said in an interview that when he was on the field at one point, he felt like he was the best defensive player in the
yes.
NFL. And that's the kind of confidence you want to hear. And I'm really, truly excited to see what he does. The other thing is, staying on that side of the ball, what's Jim Leonard's defense going to look like when we get to St.
Right.
John Fisher?
Right.
I mean, and how does he play this? Because so often we see teams very vanilla in the preseason, very vanilla at training camp. They just want to work on fundamentals. Well, when it's an overhaul of the defensive system, you probably need to work on that a little bit more. So maybe we'll get a little bit more kind of inside knowledge of what Jim Leonard's going to try to do. And look, I don't think he's going to open up the playbook and hand it to us and go, this is what we're doing here.
Right.
But that's going to be interesting.
I don't think in this day and age, I don't think defensive coordinators, I don't think they have a problem putting it in and deploying it, even in the preseason, because they can get reps. Because each team they're going to play, the way it is, I think the atmosphere in the NFL is, listen, they know we've got all this stuff under our hood. We may as well run through it a little bit and see if we're good at it. The only thing we'd be giving up is how good our players are in it. Are they good enough to beat your players? I think this preseason holds a lot of question marks about how much Joe Brady's going to tell Jim Leonard. It's like, no, turn it loose. Let's see what you got. Let's get these guys ready. Or is he going to say, no, I have complete confidence. Just keep it under wraps. Game reps are one thing, but we need to keep it a secret. It'll be interesting to see what Joe feels like about that, because I really think it's going to be one or the other. They're not going to go like halfway. Say, if you're going to go halfway, you may as well go all the way. Let's turn them loose.
Yeah,
Let's see what we got.
Cut it loose, and
let's see what we got.
Because I think with Joe being an offensive mind, I have a feeling we're going to see that on that side of the ball. Then you should probably do it on both sides and really be aggressive and really and I know there's a lot of people trying to compare what this Bills defense is going to look like, to the Denver Broncos defense.
Right.
That's a slippery slope to go down, because Vance Joseph was actually the defensive coordinator in Denver. Don't forget that. Is it going to look similar? Maybe, but there's going to be a lot of wrinkles that Jim Leonard does that we didn't see in Denver. And he was actually asked by our buddy Tim Graham at The Athletic, and I thought his answer was really interesting. Tim said, you're finally getting a chance to be a defensive coordinator again, right? So when you look back at the lead up to this, how often did you sit there and go, oh, man, they don't like this idea, but I'm going to put this in my back pocket for when I get a chance to make the calls on game day. I'm going to use that.
Right.
And he said, yeah, there's definitely some times where you go, okay, that's cool. If that doesn't fit what we want to do here, down the road, I can pull that back up and use it.
Right. That's what coaches do. They take notes and file, and they learn everything they can. And they take it with them, and they keep it, and they go back and they say, "Oh yeah, I remember this." And they when they start to get more and more responsibility, they sprinkle more and more of what they have brought with them into it, and the stuff they like. It's just the way of the world. That's why coaching is one of the all-time apprenticeship industries. You learn because you start at the bottom and you come all the way up through. You start as a player a lot of times, but you don't have to. But you start learning just how to put kids through drills. And then you learn how to get them to do technique, and then you technique your way to some schemes. And then the schemes are fit around really good players that you have. And it goes step by step up through the ranks. And then you start talking about philosophies. And by the time you become a defensive coordinator and then a head coach, you have seen absolutely every challenge that a coach is going to face, from talent to scheme to technique to philosophy. And it's one of the all-time, because when these guys get to be coordinators, they're high-level executives. They really are, and Jim Leonard's no exception. I told the story a bunch when they hired him. I've been hearing his name since 02, 03 as a player at Wisconsin from Barry Alvarez. He goes, yeah, that kid. He goes, I asked him, I go, you got any guys this year that are coming? Because Lee Evans had come out. And we went back to do a little feature story on Lee Evans. And he said, I go, you got anybody this year? How's your team looking? Is there anybody I need to watch? He goes, there's a guy. He's probably not going to get drafted. He's just not big enough. But he's a guy I think has really got a future. And I go, well, what's his name? He goes, Jim Leonard. He's a safety. the Bills signed him as an undrafted rookie free agent.
Wow.
That free agent, and he played for 10 years. And, now he's here, as a coordinator, and he's on a track to be a level up and be a head coach someday. Those guys show up because they know how to learn, and they bring that stuff, and they pass it on. They've got everything that's been passed on to them, ready to pass it on to the next generation. I can't wait to see this guy in the preseason. I can't wait to see what he brings to the table. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited to watch what he does with our defensive backs unit. Like a former safety who has a football brain, who loves to draw things up. You hear what some of these players are saying about just his IQ level, how smart he is, how he wants to let his players loose if they see something, adjust, not have to go completely by the book 24/7. Cole Bishop is a player who started to shine last year. I can't wait to see how Jim Leonard develops some of the younger talent in the backfield.
It's funny you bring Cole up because his first press conference, Jim Leonard, that was my first question to Jim, was about Cole. And I think he had to wipe some drool off of his face because, you could tell there are certain guys. And he said, back to the draft process with Cole, he thought that was a player who could just be a star in the NFL. To your point, I think Cole took that step. I think he's going to take a huge step. I believe we'll see him moving all over the field.
Yes.
They're going to deploy him in so many different ways. That's one guy along with Michael Hoyt that I'm super excited to see.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the safeties that they brought in, Geno Stone, Gardner Johnson, they're just not names. They're like, well, we need some safeties. They picked those guys for real reasons. And Jim playing the position at the highest level that he did for 10 years in the league, and being one of those guys that coaching staff sought out to, like, I want you in my defense to get these guys. It says a lot about the guys who they bring in at that position. So I'm kind of with you. I think Cole Bishop's going to benefit greatly from this, and so will those other two guys, Stone and Gardner Johnson.
Speaking of positions, there's going to be some awesome position battles happening at training camp. You even go to the punter position. We'll be watching that take place as well. Left guard, who's going to earn the starting cornerback spot opposite of Christian Benford? Who's going to be in the left guard rotation? Who shines there? How is the pecking order going to work for the wide receiver room? Is there a position battle that you kind of are already honing in on that you can't wait to watch play
Linebacker,
out?
probably. Who's the guy that jumps out and takes the job next to Terrell Bernard? Caleb Elarms-Orr looked pretty good. I get it. I think Joe Brady said, we're in pajamas right now. Let's not overreact, right? Yeah. But Caleb Elarms-Orr got a lot of run during these mini camps and OTAs because Dorian Williams, as we found out, was dealing with an injury. Now, we didn't get specifics on that injury and how long maybe the timetable could look. Who knows? Maybe we show up day one, practice one, Dorian Williams is fine, and he's out on the field. I don't know. But Elarms-Orr is a guy that they spent a mid-round draft pick on, and he sure seems to fit the bill of the kind of guy they're looking for. You talk to him on camera, and he's got that look behind his eyes where you're like, I don't know if I should run right now in the middle of this. Yeah. He's just got that the kind of attitude you want in the middle of your defense. And Joe Brady told the story about Elarms-Orr running the huddle during minicamp or OTAs, and he had the helmet on with the
radio,
and the radio in it, and Brady said something to him, and Elarms-Orr snapped. Joe goes, I don't think he didn't realize it was me, but he goes, I like that because he wanted command of the huddle and he wanted everybody listening. And I went, oh man, that sounds like the kind of guy you want, right?
Yeah, exactly. And quite frankly, in half a dozen years past, it's a guy they've lacked.
Mm-hmm. That nasty streak.
Somebody who you do what he says, or you're gonna have a fist fight about it. You got to have an attitude of, and I've said it to Brownie on the show a ton. If there's a fight on the field, he's in the middle of it, or he's trying to get there. Not everybody's like that.
No.
Even these, even back in the steroid era when everybody had a fuse that was non-existent, like something
that didn't exist,
disconnected, right? Not everybody was like that. But you need guys like that because football's an emotional kind of attitude sport, and you need guys to set that attitude. And maybe that's one of the things that has been missing from this team in recent years past.
And they've had some of those on offense, right? Because I'm sitting here thinking Spencer Brown is a guy that will go to the middle and find. Alec Anderson is a guy who will he'll be the one that initiated it probably. Dion's another one.
You go back to the offensive lineman who was here, and I can't remember his name.
David Edwards.
David Edwards was like that, a guy even before him, and I can't remember the Italian guy. Played for the Giants for a hot minute anyway, but they had guys
John
like
Feliciano.
That's him, John Feliciano. Feliciano was a guy who had a little bit of some grit. You look for guys like that, and some teams look only for that, and then they've got guys that are in the news blotter here.
The Raiders,
right? Well, the Chiefs, and some team they can make that work because they've got other pieces in place. I've always maintained, and I talk this about the old guys. I talk about this with the old guys. You need a handful of them. You don't need two handfuls.
There's a good mix. You got to find that.
They have been non-existent here for a minute, and now it seems with Gardner Johnson, with Elarms Orr, Geno Stone, they've got some guys who maybe will start to balance that out a little bit.
A lot of different storylines during OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Is there one that caught you by storm, or one that you feel like people are underreacting to that will play out big time in preseason or in training camp?
I like how healthy Dalton Kincaid looked. And we heard a lot about how he's just healthier. And that's that triggers another thing that, I think was talked about. Maybe not enough. The change in some of these guys' body types. Landon Jackson is an absolute mountain of a human being. Now, will it translate to Sundays? We shall see. But, man, did he put the time in.
Yes.
Dwayne Carter is another one that just looks like he just bulked up.
I'm so happy for him, too, that he was able to get on the field.
Right? Deion Walker, he thinned down a little bit. It just
a little different body shape.
Yeah, it just seeing some of these guys and their body types and the way they look. That's something that I think caught everybody, not just me. Everybody went, kind of noticed it immediately.
It does. I think it does go under the radar a lot, particularly in the off season when they're not on the front page and they're not. Everybody's not seeing them week to week to week. How committed these guys are to being better. Guys who you just think they're these young kids coming out of college. In some ways they're immature, but in other ways they're very disciplined. Guys like Landon Jackson, Deion Walker, and these guys come back, and Kincaid, they come back and they look different. They have really, you know how all of us know how hard, particularly in our middle age and old age, like me,
right? Like me,
how hard it is to change your body. It is easy, right? It is easier when you're younger, but it doesn't take any less discipline. These guys, they're not trying to just drop a few pounds. They're trying to gain muscle, the right kind of weight, and they're trying to change their body type, and they get it done. The commitment and the professionalism of these guys show, I think, is way underrated. To see a 20-something-year-old kid do that.
And if you don't get it done, it's on you.
Yeah.
Because the livelihood and span of a career goes by like that. You have everything at your disposal to get it done. You've got world-class training staff, nutritionists, like the whole thing.
Sign me up.
Right. Let me have that access. But, I mean, seriously, if you don't get it done, that's kind of on you.
No question. And certainly, too, that the deeper they get into it, and Deion Walker's a great example of it, and Landon Jackson, both those guys. That's their first year. Usually in the league, you get to your third year, and then you take your big jump because this first off season is just that. You're still learning where you should live, who I should live with. Should I live with my mom and dad, or should I get my own place up in Buffalo, or should I go back home and train in my college? Who's going to live with me? Who's going to cook for me? Who's going to, all of that. All of that. So how am I going to spend my free time when I don't have, when I am working out? It takes a minute for guys to get their life in order because they got financial freedom and time. But they still got a job to do, even though it's the off season. How they handle that's really tough. So to see these guys do it in their first off season, come back transformed. It's amazing because usually this first off season is like you're still kind of feeling your way around your life, your life away from the field. Now Landon's married, so that's a little different. He's got somebody there, like, hey, hon, it's time to go, to help him out. But man, oh man, to see these guys do that in their first off season, I mean, it's impressive. It really is.
Yeah, it was really cool too on that regard to hear Bradley Chubb extend the offer to TJ Parker to come train together during the offseason. You got a newbie of a rookie who's
Right.
just stepping foot into this life, and to have a veteran like Bradley Chubb, who's so respected around the league, say, hey, dude, come with me. I'm going to be in Florida. You can come hang for a few days, and we can train together, and I can kind of show you the lay of the land. I'm excited to see what comes from that, and to see their relationship, along with just kind of how Bradley Chubb extends his hand to everybody in the defensive line room. I mean, Jim Leonard said right away, like, this is a guy that we signed and we saw his leadership immediately, and the leadership was a type of leadership that extended beyond the defense. It went to the offense, and you rarely see that on teams
Right,
every
especially
year.
for a guy who's just off the, just out of a cab, showing up.
Yeah.
And that would mean
Really
so
impressive.
much
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
rookie.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
to me, I put myself in TJ Parker's shoes. He had to be like, how
Mouth
quickly
on the
can I
floor.
get down there?
Yeah.
Can I ride with you down there?
Yeah,
Like,
let's
let's
go.
go.
Asking me?
I'm ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. And Chubb, I think, is going to be, he kind of goes under the radar, but he's a guy that's played well against our team for the Dolphins. That's big, getting a guy in there with those kind of chops. He was a high draft pick. He is, with those kind of chops, is a guy that's got a level of credibility that guys will listen to because they know his resume. And to have him be that guy, I think it's huge. I think that's a highly underrated signing.
I think TJ. I hesitate to share this thought, but I'm going to. I think TJ Parker leads this team in sacks this year.
Wow.
Wow, okay.
I think he's going to be that good.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be talking about him during the season nationally. On a national level, I think we're going to start hearing he was the steal of the draft.
That's
I
amazing.
just do. Yeah. I think he is going to be that good. And I think some of that's going to be Deion Walker getting a few extra eyeballs on him,
Yeah.
Ed Oliver getting a few extra eyeballs on him, and taking advantage of your
Rousseau
opportunity.
And Hoyt. And I'd love to see Hoyt come back
With a vengeance.
with a vengeance and 100% feeling great and looking energetic like he did when he got injured. But we have yet to see any of this, right?
Yeah.
It's all
They've been
happening
in
soon.
pajamas, as Joe Brady said.
Yes, it's Junior Olympics right now. So
Yeah.
these are all question marks, but everybody seems to be doing everything that has been asked of them and doing it like knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that attitude and that production continues.
End of July is when it all begins. Training camp in Rochester. Josh Reed will be there. Steve Tasker and myself. We can't wait. But Josh, thanks for coming on
Yeah,
the show
thanks for having
today
me.
to talk about the 5-year extension between WIVB-TV and the Buffalo Bills for their broadcast partnership.